Hi, welcome back to our demonstration problem where we learn how to record transactions affecting the balance sheet. This is part 2 of the problem. In the last portion of a problem, we first analyzed our transactions using a transaction analysis format, and then we journalized them or recorded them the way accountants do in a general journal by using the rules of debit and credit. The general journal is a chronological listing of all the business activities or transactions that affected the financial equation, the accounting equation. Our next step is to copy this information into our ledger book of accounts. And so we will first take a look at those ledger book of accounts items here. Every single one of our financial statement accounts has a place to record increases and decreases. These are called our accounts. So we have a place for cash called our cash account, a place for supplies called our supplies account, and so on. What I have done here is I've taken our beginning balances left over from July 30th and placed them in the accounts. Now, how did I decide whether to put the amounts on the left side with cash and on the right side with accounts payable? Well, the rule is simple. It's based on the accounting equation and the rules of debit and credit. The normal balance for any account is the same as the side that you would use to increase that account. So according to our rules of debit and credit, the word assets is on the left side of the accounting equation, so we increase assets on the left side. Therefore, all assets like cash, supplies, equipment, buildings, and land should have a normal left side or debit balance. Liabilities and stockholders' equity accounts occur on the right side of the accounting equation, so we increase them on the right side. So they should have normal right side or credit balances, like accounts payable, notes payable, common stock, and I'll put our last one in here, retained earnings. It's got a balance of $259,000. I know that goes on the credit side because we increase equity accounts on the right or credit side. And now we are going to post our transactions into our ledger book of accounts. It's basically copying. So in our first transaction, we're to go to the cash account and put $400,000 on the debit or left side, and then go to the common stock and put $400,000 on the credit or right side. So let's go to cash first and put $400,000 on the debit or left side, and we're going to label that transaction A. And then we go to common stock and we put $400,000 on the credit or right side. Now we go to transaction B, and we're supposed to go to cash and put $100,000 on the debit or left side, then go to long-term notes payable and put $100,000 on the credit or right side. Okay. $100,000 on the debit or left side, label the transaction B. Then to notes payable, $100,000 on the credit or right side, label that as transaction B. By the way, in the real world, we wouldn't be labeling things as our transactions as A, B, and C. We would be using dates as our reference. In transaction C, we have one debit and two credits. So let's do this separately. Let's first go to buildings and post a debit. Post means copy. Let's post or copy a debit of $182,000 to the debit side of the buildings account. Label that as transaction C. Now let's go to cash and post or copy a credit of $82,000 and notes payable a credit of $100,000. Now when I go to post the credit to cash, I'm not going to use this very first line. That's reserved for the beginning balance. Credit to cash and a credit to notes payable. $100,000. Transaction C. In transaction D, we have a debit to the equipment account for $200,000 and a credit to the cash of $200,000. Equipment debit, which means put it on the left side. and cash is a credit, which means put it on the right side. Remember, debit means left, credit means right. Oh, let me correct that here. 200,000. Okay, and in our final transaction, in transaction E, we go to the supplies account and put 30,000 on the debit or left side, then go to accounts payable and put 30,000 on the credit or right side. Okay, now we've posted all of our transactions. Notice that Connect has calculated ending balances for us. If we didn't use Connect, how would we calculate our ending balances? Very simply, we add all of our debits, all of our credits, and then subtract. The amount goes on the larger side. Now when you do this, remember to include the beginning balance. As an example, using our cash account, our debits equal 536,000, our credits equal 282,000. 536 minus 282 equals 254,000, and because we have more debits than credits, there's a debit balance. If the account has entries on only one side, like supplies or buildings or equipment, land, accounts payable, notes payable, common stock, and retained earnings, the amounts are just kept on that side, added down, and the balance is put on that one side. Okay, our next step, at the end of the month, after we've done all our analyzing, journalizing, and posting, is to prepare a trial balance. Before we can prepare our financial statements, we need to check to see if our accounts with debit balances equal the accounts with credit balances. We try to see if we can balance. So let's begin this by choosing a date for our third line of our heading. Okay. What we're going to do is go one step back and copy the account name and balance into either the debit or credit column, depending on whether the account had a debit or credit balance. So for example, I'm going to copy cash and a debit balance of 254,000 into my trial balance. If I were going to copy accounts payable, for example, I'd copy the word accounts payable and then a credit balance of 50,000. Now I'm going to stop the recording here because I need more time for our balance sheet, and I'm going to be entering in these ending balances into my trial balance. Okay, I've entered in the names of the accounts and their ending balances. I've got one more left, and that's the retained earnings account. It's got a right side or credit balance of 259,000. So I'm going to type in retained earnings and a credit or right side balance of 259,000. And my debits equal my credits. The accounts with debit balances equal the accounts with credit balances, which means that mathematically my financial statements will work out. That doesn't mean, however, that I didn't make any mistakes, because I could have chosen the wrong account to use, or I could have totally forgotten to record some transactions. But it does tell you whether there will be debit credit accuracy. So again, the trial balance is performed at the end of the accounting period before you prepare your financial statements. We copy down the name of each account and its ending balance, the one number that represents the account, to see if the accounts with debit balances equal the accounts with credit balances. Now our next step is to do a classified balance sheet. A classified balance sheet is a balance sheet in which we're separating out our assets and liabilities into current and non-current portions. So let's start first by putting the third line of our heading here. And a balance sheet, remember, is prepared for a specific point in time, in this case at July 31st. So we start by doing that. Now let's put our headings. And by the way, this balance sheet is in the account format, which means the assets are on the left side and the liabilities and equity accounts are on the right side. There we go. Now I'm looking for a line that goes all the way across there. And here's another one here for stockholders' equity. That's how I can tell where to put the labels. Now, because this balance sheet is classified, that means I'm going to be separating out my current assets and my current liabilities from my non-current assets and liabilities. Current assets are cash turned into cash or used up within the accounting period. So our closest thing to cash is cash itself. So we can go back to our trial balance and pull off the cash account. The cash account had $254,000 in it. We'll put that on our balance sheet. The next thing closest to cash would be receivables, but we don't have any receivables. Let's see what else we have in our asset category. So of our assets, we have cash, supplies, equipment, buildings, and land. Now, supplies will never turn into cash, but they will be used up within a year, so that's also considered a current asset. So we'll copy supplies and the ending balance of $37,000. Those are our only two current assets. So we'll list as our label, total current assets. Okay, now we'll list our other assets. They'll take more than 1 year to use up. Equipment, buildings, and land. And then we'll put our total here for total assets. Okay, so again, we go back to our trial balance and we copy the amounts for equipment, buildings, and land. $318,000, $282,000, and $200,000. So our total assets are $1,091,000. Now, current liabilities are liabilities that have to be paid within one accounting year or the operating cycle, whichever is shorter. So let's go back and see what current liabilities we have. We have accounts payable that will be paid within 1 year. Notes payable, that's long term, so that's paid in longer than 1 year. So we only have one current liability, accounts payable. So total current liabilities. And notes payable. That's $202,000, I believe. Let's see. $202,000. And so our total liabilities are $252,000. Now, I apologize. I realize I misspoke. When we talked about what current assets are, they are cash turned into cash or used up within 1 year. I mistakenly said one accounting period. I apologize. It's difficult to talk and record things and also be typing at the same time. Our common stock account balance is $580,000. Our now retained earning balance is $259,000. We got those from our trial balance as well. So our total stockholders' equity is $839,000, and our total liabilities and stockholders' equity is $1,091,000. So our assets indeed do equal the liabilities plus the stockholders' equity, or $1,091,000. Thank you for watching the video. Good luck on the homework. If you have any questions, you know how to get in touch with me. You can email me through Blackboard or you can give me a call. Have a great day.